You look like a whale in that dress." "Seriously, Marina, have you given up completely?" my husband said, loud enough for half the restaurant to hear. "I can't believe I have to sit across from this on our anniversary." Before I tell you how those words led to the most satisfying moment of poetic justice I've ever witnessed, hit that subscribe button and tell me in the comments, what would you do if someone publicly humiliated your loved one? Because the stranger who overheard everything that night changed our lives forever. My name is Marina. I'm 45 years old, and I need to tell you about the night my husband of 20 years decided to humiliate me in the fanciest restaurant in town, and how a mysterious woman at the next table made him regret every word. Richard and I had been together since college. We'd built a life together, 3 kids, a beautiful home, his successful dental practice that I'd helped build from nothing. I'd been his receptionist, bookkeeper, and office manager for free while raising our children. When the practice finally took off, I stepped back to focus on our family. Over the years, yes, I'd gained weight, 3 pregnancies, a thyroid condition, and the stress of basically single parenting while Richard built his career had taken their toll. I went from a size 8 to a size 18, but I thought we'd built something deeper than physical appearance. I thought 20 years meant something. I was wrong. The changes started when Richard hired a new dental hygienist named Chloe. 26, fresh out of school, looked like she'd stepped out of a fitness magazine. Suddenly, Richard was working late, joining a gym, buying new clothes. He'd come home and look at me with barely concealed disgust. "Maybe you should try that new diet Chloe mentioned," he'd say. Or "Chloe runs 5 miles every morning before work, very dedicated to her health." Chloe, Chloe, Chloe. Her name was a constant presence in our home. Our 20th anniversary was approaching, and I hoped it might reset things between us. I made reservations at Chez Laurent, the restaurant where we'd gotten engaged. I bought a new dress, a deep burgundy wrap dress that I thought looked elegant. I got my hair and makeup done professionally. I felt beautiful for the first time in months. Richard seemed distracted when he picked me up, checking his phone constantly, but I pushed forward, determined to salvage our evening. The restaurant was as romantic as I remembered. Soft lighting, intimate tables, the soft sound of a piano in the background. We'd barely ordered when Richard's cruelty began. "That dress is unfortunate," he said, not even looking up from his phone. "The color makes you look even larger than usual." I felt my cheeks burn. "Richard, it's our anniversary. Can we please?" "What? Pretend you haven't let yourself go completely." His voice was rising. "Do you know how embarrassing it is when people see us together? They wonder what happened, how I ended up with this." "Keep your voice down," I whispered, noticing other diners glancing our way. But Richard was just getting started. The wine had loosened his tongue, or maybe he just didn't care anymore. "You look like a whale in that dress," he announced, his voice carrying across the intimate space. "Seriously, Marina, have you given up completely? I can't believe I have to sit across from this on our anniversary." The words hit like physical blows. Whale, given up, this. "I work with beautiful, fit women all day," he continued, and I knew he meant Chloe. "Then I come home to you. Do you have any idea how depressing that is? How hard it is to pretend I'm still attracted to someone who looks like they've eaten their feelings for the past decade?" Tears were streaming down my face now. Other diners were openly staring. A young couple looked horrified. An older man shook his head in disgust, but Richard wasn't done. "I'm successful. I take care of myself. I deserve better than a wife who's given up. Look at yourself, Marina. Would you want to come home to that?" I stood up, my napkin falling to the floor. "I'm leaving." "Good. Save me the embarrassment of being seen with you for dessert. I'll tell people you got sick, food poisoning. Though looking at you, people might think you ate everything in the kitchen." I turned to leave, my vision blurred with tears, when I collided with someone. A woman, impeccably dressed in a black suit, steadied me with surprisingly strong hands. "I'm so sorry," I mumbled. "Don't apologize," she said, her voice low but firm. "Sit down. Trust me." Something in her tone made me obey. She guided me back to my chair, then turned to Richard with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Excuse me," she said pleasantly. "I couldn't help but overhear. You must be Dr. Richard Pearson." Richard straightened, his demeanor changing instantly at the recognition. "Yes, I am. Have we met?" "Not formally. I'm Victoria Chen. I own Chen Industries. We've been looking for a new dental provider for our 5,000 employees. Your practice was on our shortlist." I watched Richard's eyes light up with greed. A contract like that would triple his business overnight. "Miss Chen, what a pleasure. Please, would you join us?" "I wouldn't want to intrude on your anniversary," Victoria said smoothly. "Though it doesn't seem like much of a celebration. I heard what you said to your wife." Richard's face flushed. "Oh, that was just... Marina understands. Sometimes tough love is necessary. I'm just concerned about her health." "Her health?" Victoria's eyebrow arched. "Interesting. Tell me, Dr. Pearson, do you speak to all your patients about their weight this way? Call them whales? Tell them they're embarrassing to be seen with?" "Of course not. That would be unprofessional. But it's acceptable to speak to your wife that way. The woman who, from what I understand, helped build your practice, who raised your children while you focused on your career." Richard was squirming now. "You don't understand the full situation." "I understand perfectly." Victoria's voice was ice. "I understand that you're a small, cruel man who derives pleasure from humiliating someone who loves you. I understand that you think success gives you the right to treat people as less than human." She turned to me then, her expression softening. "Marina, was it? You look absolutely stunning in that dress. The color brings out your eyes beautifully." "Thank you," I whispered. Fresh tears falling, but different tears now. Victoria pulled out a business card, but instead of giving it to Richard, she handed it to me. "I'm always looking for talented people. Someone who helped build a successful dental practice from nothing clearly has skills. Call me Monday." Then she turned back to Richard. "As for you, Dr. Pearson, Chen Industries will not be requiring your services. Ever. In fact, I'll be sharing this encounter with my network. All 5,000 employees and the other business owners in my circle. Actions have consequences." "You can't. This is just a personal matter," Richard sputtered. "Character is character," Victoria said simply. "A man who publicly humiliates his wife is not someone I'd trust with my employees' care. Good evening." She walked back to her table, leaving Richard pale and speechless. The waiter approached nervously. "Should I bring the main course?" "No," I said, finding my voice. "We're done here. He'll take the check." I stood up, steadier now. The entire restaurant was watching, and for once, I didn't care. Let them see. Let them judge, but not me. Him. "Marina, wait!" Richard hissed. "You can't leave. What will people think?" "They'll think you're a cruel bastard eating alone on his anniversary," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Which is exactly what you are." I walked out with my head high, feeling lighter with each step. In the parking lot, Victoria Chen was waiting by a black Tesla. "Thank you," I said. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did." She smiled sadly. 25 years ago, I was you. Different restaurant, same humiliation. But no one stood up for me. I promised myself that if I ever had power, I'd use it to help women in that situation. Is Chen Industries real? Very real. And so is the job offer. You don't have to take it, but know that you have options. You don't have to depend on a man who treats you like that. I don't know what to say. Say you'll call me Monday. Say you'll consider that you deserve better. Say you'll remember that your worth isn't measured by your dress size, but by your character, which seems to be worth far more than his. I did call her Monday, but first I called a divorce lawyer. Richard came home that night in a rage. Victoria had been true to her word. By morning, the story had spread through the dental community. 3 major contracts cancelled. His hygienist Chloe quit, not wanting to be associated with someone who treated women that way. His reputation, so carefully built, crumbled in days. "You ruined me," he screamed. "Over what? Some hurt feelings?" "I didn't ruin you," I said calmly, my suitcases already packed. "You ruined yourself. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences." The divorce was brutal but quick. Richard fought over everything, but the judge, a woman who'd clearly seen too many cases like ours, wasn't sympathetic to a man who'd publicly humiliated his wife. I got the house, alimony, and most importantly, my dignity back. I started working for Chen Industries 3 months later. Victoria became not just my boss, but my mentor and friend. She introduced me to a whole network of successful women, many with similar stories. We called ourselves the Phoenix Club, women who'd risen from the ashes of cruel relationships. The weight that had so disgusted Richard began to drop, not because I dieted frantically, but because I was happy. Stress eating stopped when the stress was removed. I started swimming again, something I'd loved but Richard had mocked. Whales belong in water, he'd said. Now I swam every morning, feeling powerful and free. A year after that horrible anniversary dinner, I ran into Chloe at a coffee shop. She looked embarrassed to see me. "Mrs. Pearson, Marina, I'm so sorry, I never meant—" "It's okay," I said, and meant it. "You weren't the problem, Richard was." "He's been texting me," she admitted, wanting to get together. "But after what happened, after what everyone said about how he treated you, I couldn't. No one wants to date him now." Word got around. I felt a flicker of sympathy, then remembered his words. Whale, embarrassing, given up. "That's his choice to live with," I said. "For what it's worth, I always thought you were beautiful and kind. You always remembered my birthday, asked about my family. He never did that." 6 months later, I was at another fancy restaurant, this time for a Chen Industries celebration. I wore burgundy again, the same color Richard had mocked, but this time I wore it with confidence. "Marina!" a familiar voice called. I turned to see Richard at the bar, looking older, diminished. His practice had shrunk to a fraction of its former size. The confident, cruel man from that anniversary dinner was gone. "Richard," I nodded politely. "You look—" He swallowed hard. "You look great. Happy." "I am happy. I heard you're some kind of executive now. Congratulations." "Thank you." He fidgeted with his drink. "Marina, I've been thinking about us, about what I said. I was wrong. Stressed about work, drinking too much. It wasn't really me." "Yes, it was," I said simply. "That was exactly who you are. Stress doesn't create cruelty, Richard. It reveals it. But 20 years during which you felt entitled to humiliate me the moment I no longer met your standards. 20 years that ended the night you called me a whale in a room full of people. I'm sorry." "I'm sure you are. Sorry you got caught. Sorry there were consequences. Sorry that Chloe and every other woman in town knows exactly who you are now." "That's not fair." "Fair?" I laughed. "Was it fair when you announced to a restaurant that I was embarrassing to be seen with? Was it fair when you compared me to a whale? Was it fair when you said you deserved better after I spent 20 years supporting your dreams?" He had no answer. "Goodbye, Richard. I hope someday you learn to see women as human beings, not decorations for your arm. But that's not my problem anymore." I walked away, back to my table where Victoria and my new friends were waiting. Women who saw my worth beyond my weight, who celebrated my successes instead of diminishing them. who understood that beauty came in many forms and sizes. Was that him? Victoria asked. That was him. How do you feel? I thought about it. Free. Completely free. The truth is, Richard did me a favor that night. His cruelty was so public, so undeniable, that I couldn't make excuses anymore. Couldn't tell myself it wasn't that bad, that all marriages had problems, that I should try harder to be what he wanted. He showed me who he was loudly and clearly, and Victoria Chen showed me who I could be. I still wear that burgundy dress sometimes, not because I look like a whale in it, but because I look like a woman who survived, who chose herself, who learned that the opinion of a cruel man matters far less than her own self-worth. Richard was right about one thing. I had given up. I'd given up on myself, on my dreams, on expecting basic human decency from my partner. But his cruelty woke me up, made me fight, made me realize I deserved better. And Victoria? She saved more than just my evening. She saved my life. Showed me that power used correctly can change everything. That women supporting women can move mountains. That standing up to cruelty, even when it's not directed at you, matters. She heard a man call his wife a whale and decided that was unacceptable. She used her influence not for personal gain, but to protect someone vulnerable. She showed me that success isn't about being thin or beautiful by someone else's standards. It's about character, integrity, and lifting others up. These days, I mentor women in similar situations through the Phoenix Club. Women whose partners have made them feel worthless because of their size, their age, their appearance. I tell them what Victoria told me. Your worth isn't measured by your dress size, but by your character. And when they cry, remembering cruel words said in anger or disgust, I remind them of something else. The right person will love you at any size, will see beauty in your strength, your kindness, your journey, will understand that bodies change, but character endures. Richard called me a whale at our anniversary dinner, but whales are magnificent creatures, powerful, graceful, commanding respect in their domain. So maybe he was right, just not in the way he meant. I am powerful, I am graceful in my own way, and I definitely command respect in the boardroom, in my life, in my own mirror. The woman he saw as a whale, she was actually a phoenix waiting to rise. And rise I did, leaving his cruelty in ashes behind me. What would you do if you witnessed someone being publicly humiliated by their partner? Would you intervene like Victoria did, or would you mind your own business? Tell me in the comments below. And if you've ever been made to feel worthless because of how you look, remember this. The problem was never your body, it was their character. Subscribe and share this story with anyone who needs to remember their worth isn't measured by a scale. Next week, I'll share another incredible story about a woman who discovered her supportive mother-in-law had been secretly recording her meals to shame her online. The revenge? Absolutely perfect. Until then, remember, you deserve someone who sees you as the treasure you are at every size in every season of life.